So I don't know what's wrong with my camera setup, but I thought I will do a follow-up on explaining the previous stream where I was trading using AI for the most part, like more like a large language model. So let me walk through what's happening. So I'll just start the application. What we're doing is we're using interactive brokers, specifically the workstation, but you can use gateway as well. And the idea of this automated trading platform is to use large language models as much as possible. And what it's doing is two things. One, it has a bunch of analysts. Okay, these AI analysts, they read the news as it comes in real time, and then they give it a score, like should we take a position or not. And if the sentiment of the news is positive enough and analysts have a consensus, like I'm using 2, but you could use more. And if they have a consensus that this news is actually positive, like, one AI thinks, it's perhaps 70% positive, another thinks it's only 50%, but both think it is positive, then it has to advise the system to go and take a position. And for the moment, the position is, although designed by AI, the sizing and everything, but the idea is that we can trade an equity. Now in this case, I'm not doing any short positions because it's just equities to keep it simple, but you could do a short or negative news as well, although I think it's better to do those with options. But that's just a personal opinion, not some financial advice. I just think for shorting, it's probably not a good idea to do it for naked shorts. So I just configured it to do only long positions, right? So I'm going to expand the window here a bit more. So only long positions, and only if we get an extremely positive sentiment out of the news. And we just don't place a simple buy order, right? We can't do that. We can't place a market order. So we need a limit order, which, let me see if you can look at how it works. So we place limit orders for buy, and in case of interactive brokers, you can do even better. You can actually place what we call a bracket order. So here in the description, I have like a bracket order system where it checks, do I already have a position? If not, place a limit order, put in a stop loss, and also a take profit. Okay, and automatically end of trading day, it is going to cancel the trades out. Okay, now for testing in live environment, I want to see some trades happen, so I may lower the temperature of what I think is a good enough score to take a position. Maybe I set it to 50%. I'm just using a number like 50%, higher than 50% sentiment is positive, looks like it will have a positive impact on the underlying price, then we take a long position. But what I found is there's a specific number that works depending on the type of LLMs we use. So most of the LLMs that I use are local, so you don't have to like try and consume a ton of ChatGPT or OpenAI or tokens anywhere. You can if you want to. There is no hard and fast rule. The way I've designed it, it works with my local running models. And you can select any model and any number of them, but I choose 2 because I think that's good enough. It acts as a counterbalance. So one is a very factual model, and one is a more, anything goes kind of larger model. That is more specific to sentiment, and that's how it works. So of course, the reason I haven't been making videos with live trading is because all of this is using US markets. And for me, in my location in Singapore, that's like 9:30 p.m. So it's easy for me to just stream it and let it run so you can see what happens. And I have a stream recorded where it actually takes positions. But typically what you want to do is you want to run it in paper mode, change the settings, see what you need, and then tweak your take profits and stop loss, and then move from there. That's what I do. Now, if you look at my interface, you may see some positions it had taken. That's because I had a very relaxed view of what the analyst consensus was. I would take the AI analyst consensus to be more specific, like higher on the positive side, in order to ensure that it really is good news for the stock. Will it perform better? An example would be, I gave the same piece of news, and in my back test, we test these things, right? So in the back test, we say, okay, this company is laying off 10,000 people. It's very common news these days. But that can both be positive or negative. So if it's a factory that's shutting down one of its factory locations, it means they don't see any future growth potential. So that's a negative. Whereas a services company that has just laid off 10,000 people because they felt that they had too many people, so the per employee return was lower than industry average, or whatever that data may be, and that's why they're removing X number of people. That may actually be a short-term good news, although with the long term it still means it's bad. So here the idea is you just take short-term positions perhaps through the day and try and get 1-2% return on that, trading the news. Now I don't expect any action to happen as I speak, because it really depends on the news that's coming in. But you will notice that I had actually excluded IBM from the list, because they make up, like, if you know this industry, like, they make a lot of news that make no sense, in the sense that they'll just release news that we're doing this, we're doing that. Those are press releases. So a model has to be smart enough, and you could probably get by doing better prompting. But the idea is that you shouldn't look at press releases too much, because that's just what the company is saying. And in a day, IBM can write 20 times that they've done something with AI, all through different kind of news, like we've built a server, we've built whatever. So it's just noise, it's not news. And the other thing is, the same news can come through different channels, and places like FinHub or Alpha Vantage don't actually filter that out. So in this code, I try and take care of not like rereading the news, both from the AI perspective as well as from the systems perspective, where if the news is either too old and just coming through FinHub now, it's actually, we can see it right here, then we ignore it because it's already made it to the market long ago, and whatever price movement happened in aftermarket orders has happened. What we really want to see is a news that has just been released. There's no prior information, and that it's positive. So here we have some, here's an example. Let me scroll up a bit. So here's an example here. Let me see, where can you see it? Let me move this window a bit out of the way, because that's not important. Right, okay, let's move this up. Right, make this smaller. Okay, so here we had a recent news about AMD, right? Okay, so in this news, one got a sentiment of 0, that means it's just neutral, and the other is negative. I actually, looking at the headlines, and the model, the AI is reading the entire body of the news, not just the headline. So just by the headline, I can say that yes, it's a related industry. If the other stock is dropping, it's probably negative for AMD. But one model figured it out, and the other one didn't. So this can happen. This is massively negative, So now 2 models say it's negative. So we move on. And also, like, the news is fairly recent, but if it's fairly old, then we will ignore it and we will move on. And if the news just pops up and it's super, like, above a certain threshold and it's positive, and we just place a bracket order and we try. So we place a certain amount of orders depending on the balance we have and what got executed. And then, we make sure we get it in within the limit, we take profit, we stop loss and all those things, and it should work. Now, you might notice that in my portfolio itself, I may have like a big position in there. That's not because of this particular trading bot, which is using AI. It's for another one that I'm working on that does covered calls. So perhaps I'll do another video on that. But the idea remains the same, and it actually works pretty well in concept. So if we had to do this when I was kind of doing this 7-8 years ago, you have to build the entire sentiment system. It wasn't perfect. It needed too many words. It was slow. And on the same hardware today, you can get a much better answer, and you can get much better speed. And you don't really need too much technology or too much knowledge to do this. It's pretty straightforward. Everything you need, you can pretty much get for free. It's just you need to know what to do. Yep, so here's a new one where model 1 gave it the same and everybody gave it the same. So I would take a mean of that. There are other ways of taking a mean of a sentiment, but that's what it is. Another thing that AI has to do is read the news and figure out what the stock is that it's talking about, and is that stock. And then obviously it can be some random small cap stock. So what we have is a list where we check whether it's, if it's in the list of mid and large cap stocks, then only that needs to be executed on. There's a lot of other things that goes on in deciding how to position, how to size the position and all those things, and when to cancel the orders. But those are actually happening mostly because of Interactive Brokers having a very good bracket order system, and also a system that I've currently hard coded because of my own personal requirements for risk. But you could easily just have another a trader, AI trading analyst, who understands execution, right? That we have done this before in Python. There is code for it that understands execution and says, well, the market has moved fairly, and I don't think there's any reason for us to modify the order any further, because whatever gains that we were supposed to get, we've already lost, right? So let's say the market has already moved 5% on the positive news for that particular stock, then there's no reason to now continue to try and bid and modify your limit orders. Okay. Now you could do a market order. I don't particularly like market orders, but you can modify the bracket order to do it in that way. But this is essentially the gist. Now if you watch the live stream, which is recorded for like over 3 hours, and you skip around, you will see bracket orders being placed, and you will see how it works. But because I put a very low threshold so that I could capture the moment of transactions. All right, that's all I had. I wanted to keep this short and live and just speak through it. Hopefully, if people have questions, I can come back and showcase what happens. I'm always improving on this and always testing. If I kind of find the best threshold, I will come back and show the performance of this system, how it works out. I think there was a question on the chat itself, if you were on Discord, why I use Java, and I think that's a separate conversation. I just find that LLMs are actually really good at Java. I do not know, like, I kind of understand why, because of the tech, of why it is, but it is really good. And for places where I'm not a great C++ coder, but I still want a reliable system, I think LLMs do a decent job with Java. But you still need to be able to fix that 1% error, which can break things for you. So that 1% you still need to be able to do, but for the most part, they are pretty good at Java. And the reason is Java's been around that long, it's compiled, and the disadvantage of Java was its verbosity, but the way AI works, that verbosity actually helped Java be easier to program with AI LLMs than any other language. And these 3 points are the only reason why I think Java is probably going to come back with more people trying to code with AI. Well, that's all for today. Thanks a lot. I hope you find this video, and if you find it, add it to your playlist, you add it to your notification, then you will get the next update whenever I can get around to it. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.